Oh man, have I got a crazy story to tell you guys. So I recently went to Taiwan, Malaysia, and Singapore. And in Malaysia, I unfortunately on the second day there, I had just gotten settled in. I had not met with any of my local friends yet. I was on my way to meet with my local friends, and I lost my core bag. And what I call my core bag is the bag that I keep my wallet, all of my ID, my passport. I had an envelope full of cash, my credit cards, uh, my car keys, like all of my cell phone, all of my most critical assets. That I keep them all in this little sling bag. And I accidentally walked away from that sling bag because at the moment I had a big backpack and I had the small sling bag, and I put them down. I bought a train ticket, or like a sky train, kind of like a above ground subway train station ticket. And then I grabbed my backpack, ran, jumped on the train. And the moment I stepped foot on the train, I realized, oh my God, I'm supposed to have two bags. I only have one. And the one that I should not have left behind, I absolutely left at the train station. And so I got off at the next stop, got on the reverse train, sky train, waited for it, and was on my way back. And I'm in a full blown panic because if I cannot find that bag, then I have instantaneously become a penniless beggar, lost foreigner in Malaysia. And so I was like kind of freaking out, but I'm not really like a nervous or I I realized that I was panicking, and I know panicking never helps. And so I had a discussion with myself, and I was thinking, okay, when I get back there, right, I'm going to have been away from my bag for 20 minutes. There's a very high probability that it's not going to be there. Someone has grabbed it, and that they're going to find an envelope full of cash in there, all my travel money, and yeah, it's just gone. And worst case scenario, I'm like, it's a very stoic philosophy, which I'm familiar with. You just imagine the worst case scenario and you deal with it, and imagine that that's already the case, and that way you can reduce, because anxiety, panic is not going to help, right? And so I had no choice but to wait before the next SkyTrain. And so I also thought about it this way. I thought, okay, it's either case A or case B. Okay, case A is I made a mistake and God is trying to tell me something, or life is trying to tell me, Sean, you have something that's wrong with you and you need to fix it. Okay, which is actually why I keep all of that stuff in a core bag. I just only ever have to keep up with the core bag. I don't have to, like, I never put my cell phone down on tables or anything. I always put it in my core bag, right? My sling bag. And so this actually is usually the case when I was younger, especially. It's always A. It's like, okay, life is trying to teach you a lesson. As long as you learn the lesson, the loss is worth it. It's more than worth the loss. Just learn the lesson. Okay, focus on the lesson. Don't focus on all this anxiety and panic. Okay, that's case A. Case B is actually a totally different case, and it could very likely be the scenario where actually God is just trying to get me out of my way, right? Because I'm a very agenda-driven person. I schedule everything, and I've focused, and I'm like going to try to achieve A, B, C, D, and God is saying, Sean, clear your schedule, look for the will. Okay, so just get out of your way and find the thing that God wants me to find. And so I thought about it, and I thought, you know what? I'll bet this is a case of B, not A. So I'm going to stop panicking. I'm going to kind of reduce my anxiety, and I'm going to find the will, because God, whether the bag is there or not when I get back, I'm just going to deal with this. Or I'm going to try to find the core. Okay, so I'm going to try to find the will. And so I get back to the station. It's not where it's supposed to be. It's gone. Okay, I look everywhere. I'm jumping up and down the first floor, second floor, third floor, looking, like, trying to see if there's someone. That it's gone. It's totally gone. Worst case scenario, right? And then, I, an old Indian lady, or elder Indian lady, she's probably in her 50s or 60s. She approaches me. She goes, "Are you okay? Because you look like you're not okay." Right? I'm clearly a lost foreigner in Malaysia. And I say, "I lost everything. Like, I have no way of. I don't know where it is. I don't know what happened." And she was actually there that whole time. Actually, she was like nodding over to the side and kind of nodding off. It's very warm in Malaysia. When you're waiting, everyone's always nodding off all the time on trains. I'm sure you've noticed. And so she's like, "Well, I didn't. I remember I saw you, but I don't remember seeing the bag, or I didn't see anyone take the bag for certainly. But then again, I was nodding off, so I'm not really sure." She goes, "Is there anything I can do to help you?" And so I said, "Well, in my backpack, I did have an iPad, luckily. And so I said, if I could get Wi-Fi, I could get connected to my local church friends, and then I can be on my way. But without Wi-Fi, I am totally lost. So she called up her son, and the son spoke to me and said, hey, my mom says you seem like a cool guy. I'm going to let you come into my house and use my Wi-Fi. So she took me into her home, and she let me use her Wi-Fi. And luckily, I was able to I couldn't access my WhatsApp. I couldn't connect any of my communication apps, only Facebook, okay? Because Facebook doesn't make me confirmed with my cell phone, and I lost my cell phone. So I connected to my good buddy Insam through Facebook Messenger. Luckily, he checked Messenger, and we were able to get connected. But in the meantime, I had like 2 or 3 hours, and I had a great time with this Indian lady. I looked around her walls of her house, and she had no decorations on the walls. It's just pure white walls. All she had was a big family Bible and a cross. And so I told her, I said, hey, I teach Bible study for my church. Are you Christian? She goes, oh, I'm Catholic. And then I told her, oh, I teach Bible. And I was wearing like a white dress shirt, like a linen white dress shirt. So I kind of looked like a preacher or something. She goes, oh my God, I have a question for you. And she breaks out her Bible, and it's got all these like detailed notes in it and like lines drawn with rulers. And she opens to Genesis chapter 6, which for those of you who know the Bible study I teach is like the core part that we teach from Noah's flood. She opens it up and she says, the Bible says that there are giants in the Bible. I want to know about this, right? And then she goes, I want to know about Adam and Eve. And then she asked a third question. She opened to the middle of Genesis, to the middle of Proverbs, and she started talking about this woman named Sophia. And she was talking about like wisdom, and how wisdom is described as this woman calling out to people in the streets. She goes, yeah, I saw this priest's notes, and it said Sophia, Sophia. So I told her, I said, well, yeah, Sophia is the Greek word for wisdom. It's also a beautiful female name. And so then I taught her about Adam and Eve. And we went out to dinner while we're waiting for my buddy Insam to come. And for like 2 or 3 hours, we just talked about the Bible. And she was telling me, she's saying, I don't have anyone I can talk to about the Bible. People are so closed-minded. They're not open-minded enough. So I don't get to talk about these things. But she was clearly excited to talk about these things. And so I definitely felt like, wow, this was definitely the will. It felt like something out of like the gospel, like the woman at the Samaritan well, and she's like asking these like deep, deep questions from the get-go, right? I read the gospel and I think, I'm a storyteller. I know how these things work, right? That's probably somewhat exaggerated, right? That's like the storyteller making the story a little more quickly, probably it took longer to get around to the deep questions, like in the realistic scenario. But no, this is exact. She went straight for these like really deep Bible questions, and we had a great conversation. My good buddy Insam came. Pastor Insam and I got a chance. He got a chance to meet her. We exchanged contact info, and then the next day I tried to go to the embassy, but it was closed, and so I had to wait until the following Monday. I had to wait the whole weekend before I could go to the embassy. By the way, Monday, when I'm going to go to the embassy, is my birthday, July the 6th. And so on my birthday, I go to the embassy to celebrate. I'm like, trying to deal with all this red tape and bureaucratic institution. I got to figure out, how to get, I need to get an emergency visa so that I can go to Singapore the next week. Because again, I'm a man on an agenda, and I got a schedule to keep and events to host. So I show up, and they say, oh, are you Sean McMillan? We have your bag. Someone turned your bag into the embassy over the weekend. I could not believe it. I had $400 prepared because I had looked at all the costs online. I was like ready to, I thought for sure. It was crazy. I looked at the bag. I went and looked at the bag. It had everything still in it, even the envelope full of cash. I could not believe it. Okay. My passport, my keys, my iPhone. We're talking like more than how much money did I think I had close to like $1,000 or $800 or $600 in there. I don't even remember exactly because it was in different currencies. It is crazy. I was completely restored on my birthday in Malaysia. And I just could not but think, man, this is truly, truly a miracle. Almost every day in Malaysia was a miracle. But this, above all things, was a very, very happy day. And so, I wanted to share that story. Hopefully people can receive a little bit of grace. And, if you ever get a chance to go travel, pray a lot when you travel, and have an adventure, and just know that, crazy things happen. You might get a little stressed. You might reach your limits. But those are chances for you to really grow and get some insight into yourself and to have some great stories to tell afterwards. So I highly recommend traveling, especially if you know some locals. And if God can speak to you through my story or through your own story, I highly recommend keep your eyes open, try to have good attitude, and try not to panic. Panic never helps. So that's what I wanted to share today.